There stood Uche, covered in grease and sweat, his eyes wild with pain and determination. Without hesitation, Uche stormed down the aisle. He reached the altar where Oluchi stood beside her groom. In a moment of raw emotion, Uche grabbed Oluchi and carried her onto his shoulder, shouting, "You are mine! She is mine! She belongs to me!" The entire hall fell silent. Once upon a time, in the vibrant city of Lagos, there lived a skilled mechanic named Uche. Uche was known not only for his talent in fixing cars, but also for his kind heart. Uche had fallen deeply in love with Oluchi, a beautiful and intelligent girl from his neighborhood. Their love was like a fairy tale, filled with tender moments and dreams of a future together. They would spend hours together, professing their undying love for one another. Uche promised Oluchi the world, and Oluchi, with a radiant smile, believed in their shared dreams. Hey guys, welcome to Mercy's Folktales. If you have not subscribed to our channel, please hit that subscribe button because we have more amazing stories like this just for you. And please turn on that notification bell so you won't miss out on any of our amazing stories. Now, let's continue. One day, Oluchi received news that would change their lives forever. She had gained admission to the prestigious University of Lagos. Though they were so happy about this opportunity, they knew the road ahead would be challenging. Oluchi's father was a petty trader, and her mother sold vegetables by the roadside. Their means were limited, and affording university education seemed like a distant dream. But Uche, determined and resolute, took it upon himself to ensure Oluchi could pursue her dreams. He worked tirelessly, saving every naira he earned from fixing cars. Often, he would skip meals and work late into the night, all to make sure Oluchi had enough money to cover her tuition and living expenses. Despite the hardships, Uche never complained. His love for Oluchi gave him the strength to endure the sacrifices. Oluchi, aware of Uche's effort, studied diligently, determined to make him proud. She knew that every penny he sent her was a proof to his unwavering love and commitment. One sunny afternoon, Uche decided to surprise Oluchi with a visit to her university. He packed a small bag with a loaf of fresh bread and a couple of bottles of minerals. As he approached her hostel, he felt a mix of excitement and nervousness. When Oluchi saw Uche standing at the entrance of her hostel, her face lit up with joy. She ran to him, embracing him tightly. "My love, you came all the way just to see me?" she exclaimed, her eyes sparkling with happiness. Uche smiled and hugged her tightly. "I've missed you so much." He handed her the bag. "I brought you some bread and minerals." "Thank you so much, my love. I really appreciate," Oluchi said. They found a quiet spot under a large tree on the campus ground and sat down. They talked for hours, sharing stories and dreams, laughing. It was a moment of pure bliss for both of them. Oluchi invited Uche to meet her roommate. She was proud to introduce the love of her life to the people she shared her space with. As they entered her room, her roommates greeted Uche with polite smiles, though there was an air of curiosity and mild surprise. "This is Uche," Oluchi said with pride. "He's the absolute love of my life." Her roommates exchanged pleasantries and chatted for a while. Uche was his usual kind and humble self, engaging them in friendly conversation before it was time for him to leave. However, as soon as Uche left, Oluchi's roommates burst into laughter. Nkechi, one of the more outspoken girls, spoke up first. "Oluchi, you really surprised me. Is that really your boyfriend? A mechanic?" she asked, barely containing her laughter. Ada joined in, her tongue dripping with sarcasm. And look at what he brought for you, bread and minerals. That's all he can afford. You deserve so much better than this. Oluchi felt a flush of anger rising but tried to stay calm. Uche is so hardworking and loving. He's the reason I am here today. I wouldn't trade him for anyone. Nkechi rolled her eyes. But Oluchi, you could be with someone who has more to offer. A university student like you should aim higher, not settling for someone like him. Ada nodded in agreement. Exactly. There are plenty of rich guys on campus who would treat you like a queen, while settle for a mechanic who can barely bring you proper goodies. As the laughter continued, Uju, who had been quiet until now, finally spoke up. Enough, guys. True love isn't about money or status. It's about finding someone who genuinely cares for you. Uche seems like a good man who is doing his best for Oluchi. Nkechi coughed. True love? That's such a fairy tale. Reality is different. In the real world, you need someone who can provide for you. Love doesn't pay the bills, so. Oluchi, feeling the sting of their words, but also touched by Uju's support, defended Uche once more. Uche is more than just his job. He's my best friend and my biggest supporter. I believe in him. Uju smiled at Oluchi, and that's what matters, Oluchi. Don't let anyone tell you otherwise. Despite Uju's support, that night, Oluchi lay in her bed, her roommate's harsh words echoing in her mind. She wondered if she was making the right choice. Could she and Uche really make it in a world that often value wealth and status over true love and hard work? She believed in Uche, but doubts began to creep in, leaving her restless and uncertain about the future. In the weeks that followed, Oluchi found herself increasingly influenced by her roommate's words. Though she loved Uche deeply, the constant teasing and remarks about his job and financial status began to weigh on her. She started giving Uche the cold shoulder, creating distance where there had once been warmth. Whenever Uche called, she would often ignore the calls or respond with short curt messages. Her once enthusiastic and loving responses were replaced with indifference. Uche, puzzled and hurt by the sudden change, tried to understand what had gone wrong. One afternoon, Uche decided to visit Oluchi at her hostel, hoping to talk things out and clear any misunderstandings. When he arrived, he was met with a distant and unwelcoming Oluchi. My love, what's going on? You have been avoiding my calls and acting different, Uche said, his voice filled with concern. Oluchi looked away, struggling with her emotions. I've been busy with school, Uche. Maybe we need space. Uche's heart sank. Space? Did I do anything wrong? If I did, please tell me so I can make it right. It's not you, Uche. I just need to focus on my studies. And I can't afford any distractions right now. Uche looked at her, his eyes filled with confusion and hurt. He decided to honor Oluchi's request for space, understanding that she needed to focus on her finals and projects. Though it was incredibly hard for him, he hoped that giving her this time would help her realize how much he cared for her. In the following month, Uche kept his distance, reaching out only occasionally to check on her. Whenever he called, their conversations were brief and lacking the warmth they once shared. Uche could feel the growing space between them, but he continued to support her from afar, sending money for her upkeep whenever he could. Her replies were usually just a single word, thanks. Despite the coldness, Uche remained steadfast in his commitment to her. He hoped that once her exams were over, they could find a way back to each other. One fateful day, Uche was working in his shop when his friend Chike rushed in, breathless and frantic. "Nwanne, come and see oh," Chike exclaimed, holding out his phone. Uche wiped his hand on his overalls and took the phone, his heart pounding. What he saw made his blood run cold. Oluchi's wedding invitation splashed across social media. The wedding was happening that very day. Disbelief and anguish flooded Uche's mind. He felt a wave of dizziness overcome him and he fainted, collapsing on the floor. Chike and other mechanics quickly revived him, and once Uche regained his senses, he bolted out of the shop, ignoring their calls to calm down. His clothes was dirty, but he didn't care. He ran as fast as he could to the venue. When Uche arrived at the grand hall where the wedding was being held, he burst through the doors, drawing all eyes on him. Guests gasped, and a shocked murmur rippled through the crowd. There stood Uche, covered in grease and sweat, his eyes wild with pain and determination. Without hesitation, Uche stormed down the aisle. He reached the altar where Oluchi stood beside her groom. In a moment of raw emotion, Uche grabbed Oluchi and carried her onto his shoulder, shouting, "You are mine! She is mine! She belongs to me!" The entire hall fell silent, stunned by the audacity of his actions. Oluchi's groom looked on, dumbfounded, unable to process what was happening. Security personnel rushed to intervene, prying Oluchi from Uche's grip and refraining him. As he was held back, Uche began to speak, his voice cracking with emotion. "I loved you, Oluchi. I supported you through everything. I gave up everything for you. Why did you do this to me? Why didn't you tell me about any of this?" Oluchi, her face flushed with a mix of anger and embarrassment, stepped forward and delivered a stinging slap across Uche's face. The sound echoed through the hall, and everyone watched in stunned silence. "How dare you! You are too local for me, Uche." Her voice cold and unforgiving. "I don't need you in my life. I will pay you back every dime you ever spent on me. Now get lost." Uche stood there, the stench of her words and slap burning more than any physical pain he had ever endured. He felt the weight of his love and sacrifice being mocked and dismissed. With tears streaming down his face, Uche turned and walked out of the hall, his heart shattered into pieces. The guests continued to whisper, the atmosphere thick with tension and disbelief. Oluchi returned to her place beside her groom, trying to regain her composure, but the damage had been done. Oluchi's groom David turned to her with a mixture of confusion. "Babe, what just happened? Who is that man?" Oluchi dismissed his question with a wave of her hand. "Don't mind that fool. Just because he supported me through school, he thinks he owns me." David's eyes widened in disbelief. "Wait, so he supported you from your first year until now? And that's how you repay him?" Oluchi, sensing the rising tension, tried to brush it off. "My love, he's nothing. Let's just focus on our wedding." But David was already shaking his head, his face pale with shock. "I can't do this. I can't marry a man who treats someone who has been there for her like that. If you can do this to him, what assurance do I have that you won't do similar things to me one day?" The guests gasped again, whispers spreading through the crowd. David stepped back, his decision resolute. "I'm calling off this wedding. I can't do this." Oluchi's face turned from shock to desperation. "David, please, don't do this. It's not what you think." But David was unwavering. He turned and walked away, leaving Oluchi standing alone at the altar. The room was abuzz with murmurs of disbelief and judgment. Uju, the roommate who had always supported Oluchi's relationship with Uche, stood up. She walked towards Oluchi, her face filled with disappointment. "So you didn't even tell him you were getting married? You were wicked to Uche. He gave you everything and you treated him like he was nothing." With those words, Uju turned and left the hall. Her departure another blow to Oluchi's crumbling world. Oluchi stood there, abandoned by her groom and condemned by her friend. As the full weight of her actions crashed down on her, the guests, sensing the end of the event, slowly began to leave, shaking their heads and exchanging whispered comments about the day's dramatic turn. Uche, feeling utterly defeated, sat under a tree near the wedding venue, tears streaming down his cheeks. His world had crumbled in the span of a few hours, and he felt helpless and hopeless. Just then, Uju walked out of the venue, her heart breaking for him. She approached him gently. "I am so sorry for everything that happened, but you can't let this break you. You have to pick up the pieces and move forward. Don't let Oluchi's actions define your future." Uche looked up at her, his eyes red and swollen. "I don't know if I can, Uju. I gave her everything, and now I have nothing." Uju sat beside him. "You still have yourself, Uche. You need to put yourself first now. Focus on your own growth, your career, and your happiness. One day, I'm sure you will meet someone who will appreciate you for who you are. Make sure Oluchi doesn't meet you where she left you." Her words struck a chord deep within Uche. Though his heart was shattered, he felt a glimmer of hope and determination rekindle inside him. Uju's encouragement was exactly what he needed to hear. With renewed resolve, Uche decided to channel all his energy into self-development. He immersed himself in learning the latest skills in mechanics, constantly updating his knowledge and expertise. He attended workshops, enrolled in advanced training programs. Within months, Uche's hard work began to pay off. Companies from all over the country started noticing his skills and dedication. He received job offers from top companies, each recognizing his talent and offering handsome compensation. Uche's status in the industry was rapidly elevated, and he became known as one of the best mechanics in the field. As his career soared, Uche's financial situation improved dramatically. He built a magnificent house, a symbol of his success and perseverance. Eventually, Uche met a beautiful woman who adored him for who he was, appreciating his journey and the man he had become. They married, and together they built a loving family. Their son, handsome and full of life, became the joy of Uche's existence. Years later, as Uche looked back on his journey, he realized how far he had come. Uju's words had been a turning point, inspiring him to rise above his pain and become the best version of himself. He found happiness and fulfillment, proving that even the deepest wounds could heal and lead to a brighter future. One sunny afternoon, Oluchi drove into a mechanic shop to fix her car, which had been giving her trouble. As she parked, she noticed a sleek, luxurious car driving out of the shop. Her eyes widened in surprise when she saw the driver. It was Uche. Uche, recognizing Oluchi, stopped and got out of his car, a warm smile on his face. He walked over to her, his demeanor calm and confident. "Oluchi, it's been a long time. How have you been?" Oluchi was taken aback, both by Uche's transformation and the high-end car he was driving. "Uche, I can't believe it's you. You look so different, so successful." They exchanged in a brief conversation, catching up on their lives. Uche spoke with no trace of bitterness or resentment. Instead, he seemed genuinely happy and at peace. "Uche, I owe you an apology," Oluchi said, her voice trembling with regret. "I was so wrong to treat you the way I did. I'm truly sorry." Uche's smile remained gentle. "Oluchi, is okay. I forgave you a long time ago. In a way, your actions were a wake-up call for me. They pushed me to focus on myself and become who I am today." Oluchi felt a pang of shame and regret, but also admiration for how Uche had risen above the pain. With that, Uche bid her farewell and drove off, leaving Oluchi to ponder the unexpected turn of events. After her car was fixed, Oluchi approached the mechanic to settle the bill. The mechanic smiled and shook his head. "No need to pay, madam. My oga told me not to collect any money from you." Confused, Oluchi asked, "Who is your oga?" The mechanic pointed to the direction Uche had driven off. "Mr. Uche, he owns this shop." As Uche stood by her car, a flood of emotion washed over her. "Is Uche married?" she asked, her voice barely above a whisper. The mechanic nodded with a friendly smile. "Yes, madam. He's happily married with a son. They are a beautiful family." Oluchi's heart sank further. The weight of her past choices and their consequences crashed down on her. As she drove home, memories of the numerous suitors who had once shown interest in her came to her mind. Many of them had heard about how she treated Uche and had backed away, not wanting to be involved with someone capable of such betrayal. This story teaches us to appreciate those who support us in difficult times. It also reminds us of the importance of treating others with kindness and respect, valuing people for who they are, and the transformative power of forgiveness and personal development. Thank you so much for watching. If you have not subscribed to our channel, please do. Like and turn on the notification bell so you won't miss out on any of our amazing stories. Bye.